UFC Vegas 39, Dern versus Rodriguez is this weekend. We have 10 fights. One is dropping, but should be back on. It's a small card, but small cards sometimes have opportunities to make big money. We are going to walk through the Monkey Knife Fight lines. Chris Reilly has joined me. He set these lines. These are his lines, so it's him versus us. Let's have a peek behind the curtain, find out how he got there, what he thinks of his own lines. But first, go to wewantpicks.com/MKF. Sign up now. Get your free 100% deposit match up to $100 and start playing with us. How you doing, Chris?
I am doing well. You ready for the snooze fest or what?
It's, there's a couple of, I agree. It's not the greatest card in the world. And it looks like it's an early start too. So it's an early mediocre card.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh, it's 11 a.m. I just found this out. That's mountain time.
Does that affect your strike lines? Does the time of day affect your strike lines?
God, no, but it's getting more impressive how I'm just getting less and less attracted to this card, and it's funny. We'll take a look at some of these. It kind of shows in some of the lines that I set, man. I'm not excited for this. We've been getting spoiled, right? We've had some killer cards followed by fight nights that have been awesome. And this one's just horse shit, man. I don't like very much of it. I did not have a good time putting it up I'll be curious to see how much we get in Knockout Kings. We'll circle back to that towards the end, right? But I don't see many people playing that this week, so whatever. It's kind of an off week, but it's not an off week, right?
Yeah, it's a weird week for sure. And it's funny because on my side of the house, I'll see a card and be like, but then I start digging and I get into some of the plot lines and some of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, actually, I am curious to see what happens in this fight. So yeah, it's not a great card. There are a couple of decent fights in this though. But sometimes these are the cards where you can make some decent money. Let's take a look at a few of these lines.
That's true. And you know what? There's been some weird line movement this week too. So it just depends on what side you're going to take on that. So a lot of line movement, even with us. Let's take a look at these, like you said.
Yeah, you've already moved some lines. So anybody who watched our full card breakdown last night, I preach every single week. If you like a line, hit it before Chris moves it. He's already moved some. So now we're walking through sort of the midweek lines. So you have Marina Rodriguez versus Mackenzie Dern in the main event. You have Marina Rodriguez at 77 strikes, Mackenzie Dern at 61. Obviously, this is striker versus grappler type setup here. So what was your logic coming into this one?
Well, yeah, like you said it really well just now. It's striker versus grappler. And most important thing to kind of take out of this fight is that it's a 2.5 round with a little bit of the juice on the under. And it does have Mackenzie as the favorite. And when you look at her fight logs, I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of go off of a strike line based off a grappler who has a lot of first-round submissions, right? So they're not expecting this to go very far. And it's really kind of – it doesn't really matter what I make that line. I'm putting it in a range where you're either saying Mackenzie Dern's going to win this fight with a submission early or it's probably going to go the distance. As giving Jacob a shout-out for his Nagano Mackenzie Dern analogy, he recognized me. I knew he was going to say that. And if they go to the ground – as Jacob says, she is very deadly, right? So if you think it's going to be an early one, you're going to probably take the unders. But, I mean, they both have ceilings. So this one's just kind of one of those, how do you see this fight going? Because Vegas has it pegged at 12.5 minutes.
Yeah, and just for clarity for anybody watching, it is a 5-round fight, but the odds makers and the people in the industry have said, we think this fight will end at around the 2.5 minute mark or 2.5 round mark. And they actually think it's the under, right? So they think it'll end before 2.5 rounds.
Roughly 11 minutes is what they're going with this one.
Yeah.
11 to 12 minutes, I guess you could say, because it's a 2.5 is going to be 12.5, right?
Yeah.
And it's favoring the under just a little bit. And, like you guys said it yesterday, if what's her name, Marina goes to the ground and tries to do jiu-jitsu, then it's going to be over really fast. But then
that would be an alarming strategy to have in this fight. So listen, I like, if anybody watched my breakdown, I think Marina Rodriguez wins this fight. Mackenzie Dern, obviously live as hell for a submission in any fight, but that is literally the only way she's going to win. That's the only way. She's not going to grind out a decision because she can barely get takedowns. She's not going to win a striking match because her stand-up while improving is terrible. So, this is in what I think will happen is Mackenzie Dern's going to come forward, throw sloppy, hold her against the cage, try to get takedowns. It's going to be a lot of that. She'll get more and more frustrated, eventually start pulling guard. I like the more. I think Marina will land, especially when defending takedowns. And Mackenzie's lately been throwing wild, and it is a 5-round fight. I'm not buying into the Vegas 2.5 round line, so I do think it goes quite a bit. So I like the more here, but I'm not exactly going to plant my flag in the ground, but I do like the more.
You know, that's so does everybody else. And that's why it's going up. And it's like, I get it. They have the ceiling, and, you know, and Mackenzie Dern, the thing is like a lot of her fights don't. She had, like when she fought Reba, she only got 50 strikes off that one, and then she submits them. And then I remember this fight. I can't remember how you pronounce this name, but is it Jandariba or who's that she fought?
Yeah. Jandariba.
I got killed for that one at work because I'm like, oh, Mackenzie Dern, she's a killer grappler, and she's going to go to the ground and do it, and everyone's going to say she's a chick and throws tons of punches, right? And sure enough, what does she do? She just has a slugfest. So I guess she's got that in her, but, you know, kind of going back to her, she doesn't want to do a slugfest with Marina, just like Marina doesn't want to go to the ground with her. So we'll see what happens, and I'll just kind of keep adjusting as you guys keep playing that. But right now, yeah, everyone thinks it's going over, so we'll see. Yeah. I'm cheering for that. Let's do this, Mackenzie.
I'm going to hit it now before you move it because I don't want it to move anymore. So I'm going to throw $10. Anybody who watches knows that I usually start with about $100. I play 9 or 10 lines, throw $10 at each of them, and the payouts are 2.5 times. So you can lose a few and still be up. So I'm throwing $10 more on the main event to win 25. Let's take a look. The co-main event is an interesting one. Let's see what your line has done. It's interesting because Randy Brown is very good. Jared Gooden is not very good. It's honestly similar to the main event. The main event, Mackenzie Dern, submission or bust. This fight, Jared Gooden, knockout or bust. He does not have much to offer anywhere else. You got 71 for Randy, 51 for Jared Gooden. I'm assuming you're just factoring in, 2.5 rounds. This seems like a 2.5 round type line.
Minus 200, yeah, minus 200 on some books. I guess you can get minus 170 on like the sharper books that it does not go to a decision. But, at the same time, they're all pushing minus 160 go over round and a half. So there's going to be some volume in this one, right? I'm going off of what the odds are saying. By all means, I have no take on this. I'm just trying to narrow down the minutes. And really, these guys, not so much Randy Brown, but was it Gooden? Is that the guy that, what's his name, bet on? What's his name, Jacob? Sorry to sidetrack.
Yeah, he won last time. He knocked out Stolze out of nowhere. He was supposed to lose that fight, high-level kickboxer versus sort of a athletic brawler, and he won that fight, which was shocking. So now he's here. Well,
again, he has the volume. He's shown it before, and he actually has quite the ceiling. Good, and so his strike line, in my opinion, is kind of low, but that's just accounting for in case there is one, because these guys the size, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And because, are you really that shocked? Because these guys are both pretty big guys. So are you shocked when it ends early? And really, these are just kind of averages of their numbers. I didn't do too much to this one or put too much opinion in it. I'm just kind of going off their strike rates and it being about roughly 12 minutes again, give or take. And then obviously we adjust as you guys come in. I mean, I, again, don't have a hard take on either of these two, and I'm just kind of letting you guys play it from here out, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes when I put an opinion on things, I look really stupid, and that happens quite a bit. Sometimes I look smart, move on.
Yeah, and that's a tough line. I'm not going to play that one because, while I think Randy Brown dominates, it could be in a minute. It could be a full 3-round domination. It is hard to pick. We'll take a look at two more. I want to look at Felipe Colares versus Chris Gutierrez. So Chris Gutierrez, nasty kickboxer, decent volume because he's got a ton of leg kicks. But last night, I thought his line was a little high. Looks like you've adjusted it. Some money came in, I guess. And Felipe Colares, tough, wild. Should be an interesting fight. I don't know what to do with this line, though.
Yeah, I definitely was a little high on that line. But trust me, I saw that, and oh man, that was one where I was watching your podcast and I just had that, what the hell are you doing, man? Because Chris isn't that much. He does well. He's a kickboxer. I see this fighting up or standing up the whole time, and when you look at the odds, they're projecting this to go the distance. So, but with that being, that's kind of how I got to the high number, I should say, is I'm like, oh, he throws distance, it's going to go all 15 minutes. And then I looked at his fight log and I'm like, that was stupid. He's pretty consistent when it comes to his fight logs. And if you look at every single one of his fights, he's hovering around the 60, upper 60s, maybe low 70s, but he's never really too high. So I'm not comfortable myself if I had to take over this line right now. But yeah, he's never gone over 78. Someone said that in the chat, and yeah, I felt like an asshole. I couldn't wait to move that this morning. So we nailed him. I think his line right now is perfect. So
it is a very good line. It's a very good line right now, and I'm torn what to do because I placed a bet on the under on rounds, which I almost never do. I usually hunt for the over, not the under. But because I do think that Felipe's got this long karate stance and like a lot of weight in his foot, and it's a very long stance. I think Chris is just going to light that leg up over and over and over, just get rid of any movement that Felipe has, and then that's it. So do I double down on it? Let me just double down on it. I'll throw $10 at the under, assuming there's a stoppage. I already have a bet on it. This is fantasy, but I'm going to double down on the fact that I don't think that fight goes the distance. Let's take a look at Romanov versus Jared Vanderaa. Alexander Romanov, nasty big boy wrestler. You got him at 57.5 strikes. Jared Vanderaa, for you to break him down is probably a nightmare because his first fight, he landed maybe one punch. And then his second fight, he landed 1,000 punches. So very different fights in the UFC for him. So that must have been tricky for you. So how'd you end up at 38?
Well, I'm just, these lines kind of tell a story with all these fights. And when they got it as spread out as they do, with Romanov being such a favorite, as well as the 1.5 line being minus, it's like minus 160 on the under right now, minus 170. And that's just, what's that saying right there? It's saying that Romanov's going to have his way with him, and he's going to have it most likely early. And that's what people are kind of hitting on us right now. So I didn't feel like his line was too much because when you he's not a high volume guy. You nailed the way he fights down really well. I love that comparison to Brock Lesnar. And I was like, damn, that is exactly what he does. He just kind of charges. And then if he can get on top of you, he does that that's why he's called King Kong, right? He's got that ground and pound heavy fist, jump, jump, jump. But with that said, he also subs a lot of people. He kind of does that to open up guillotines and stuff like that. And his volume, while it depends, if you look at his fight log, he's got 51 in a decision, or 53 strikes in a decision, and 60 in 2-round subs. So he's all over the place, and it's really just kind of dictating where you think, this fight goes. And I was kind of shocked because it's a 1.5 with such juice. I just assumed they're going to get crushed and it's going to be an early finish. That's what I assumed you guys would assume. But no one's biting on this one, and people are kind of pounding the overs on this one. So I had to adjust them a little bit today. I think this one's tricky. I mean, if the books are right, this is going to be an under, but so far no one is agreeing with the books as well as you. And, I get that.
Yeah. So I already bet the round line over. I do think this goes over 1.5 rounds, but this is a wrestler versus Jared Vanderaa is a grappler, but we watched him lose a fight to another grappler. So I have to assume that Alexander Romanov is going to take Jared Vanderaa down, sort of beat him up there. But Jared's tough enough. His jab is long. And even in that miserable performance he had against Spivak in his loss, Jared Vanderaa didn't get put out till the end of the second round. So I love the round over. I don't know how that translates to strikes, honestly. I really don't, because I'm just banking
how do you
Jared
see the fight going? Yeah, do you see him just laying on the bottom? And what's his ground game like? That's tough to kind of put, you know what I mean? It could go over that, but if Romanov's just laying on top of him and just kind of pounding him, how many strikes is he really getting off? So it's obviously a low line because this could be done in a round. The over can hit in a round. So I'm always kind of cautious about lines like that. But, I'm just trying to, these odds, he's so wide and, minus 600 on some books right now. So he's definitely not favored to win this fight. And it's supposed to just be an ass kicking. So that's kind of what these lines are reflecting here.
Yeah, and honestly, it should be because styles make fights, and Romanov's a good grappler, and we watched Jared struggle against a grappler in the past, but he is his own grappler. So it's a I don't think Alexander Romanov's the minus 600, 700 favorite that some books have him, but styles make fights. He should win. He should dominate. I don't know if I'm going to touch the strike line, but I'll probably have Romanov in Knockout Kings. So let's take a look at Knockout Kings. So Knockout Kings, all I need to do is pick 3 fighters, and then from there I can assess what I want my risk to be. So I'm going to grab 3 fighters that I think can win by KO or TKO. I think, honestly, Marina Rodriguez is probably not a bad pick, but let's take a look at what we got going on here. You have to have Alexander Romanov. because he is going to end up on top, and he might get a sub, but he's going to end up on top. A TKO is probably not a crazy, unlikely outcome. Darren Wynn, nasty wrestler, fighting Phil Hawes, also a nasty wrestler. It may end up standing. If so, then Phil Hawes should get a TKO, but I don't trust that enough. Felipe Colares, fighting a nasty striker. Mazo, Agapova, that should be a decision. Chris Gutierrez is the next guy, that very high-level kickboxer. Might be able to pull off some sort of KO or TKO. Some people think Nicolau can KO Tim Elliott. I don't see that. And then we have Charles Rosa. This is a hard knockout Kings card.
Trust me, I told you that. I'm going to have to explain. I'm going to probably have to Taylor, if you're watching, man, people aren't playing because the card sucks. There's nothing wrong with our product. It's just the product that's being presented to us. Because I already know I'm going to get hit with that. Like, what's up with our knockout Kings? How come we got no action? That's why. But it is, what can you do, man? We're here every week. You can't, they can't all be blockbusters like the Ortega Volkanovski card, which is a pay-per-view, obviously, to compare the two. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. We'll see how it goes. And I can already tell just because of the action that we've taken in prior weeks, since we've been launching, this is hands down the lowest handle we've taken to this point. I know we've only been open a day, but I'm talking we're probably at like 1/30th of what we usually take.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, it's tough, dude, and I get it, and whatever. It's a great product, and it's a lot of fun until this week will be fun for the books, for us, if you guys want to play. Well, I will talk to someone, see maybe if we can, I don't know, maybe we can see if we can do like a prize pool or something. They do that split the pot, $2,500 if you can get all three, maybe offer something enticing for people to play this, because I don't know how you're going to go.
I think, what this card doesn't have is the guaranteed knockout that we've seen on other cards where you're positive. But I do think between Romanov, Gutierrez, and either Steve Garcia or Marina Rodriguez, I'll do Steve. I'm sure I can get one. So I'll do my 25% payout here because I think I can get one. I like to do $20 on Knockout Kings because I think between these three people, one of them will get a KO or a TKO. Now, would I stretch for two? Absolutely not. But I do like that. But this isn't, most cards have one fight that you're positive there's going to be a knockout, where this doesn't have that.
Especially considering that the quickest fight that's scheduled on there is a grappling guy like Romanov. Yeah. And it kind of makes it that much tougher. But you know what? There has been times also, and I don't know why I always do this, but it's like we sit there and we're like, oh, it's so hard. Watch this be the card with 6-7 knockouts. Kind of like when you think it's so awesome and it's like, dude, we're gonna crush. This is money in the bank. I'm doing the second prize. I'm getting two. And there's just no knockouts the whole time. This will be the card. That's just how this shit rolls, right?
Well, that was like the main event last week. Nobody saw that coming. So well, I appreciate you joining. It is an interesting week. We'll see what happens later in the week to your lines. We'll see what happens with Lupita Godinez has a new opponent. Once that's officially announced, I'm sure you'll have a line for that. So we'll see what that looks like. But thanks for hopping on. I always appreciate you coming in here and diving into your lines.
Of course, man. I enjoy doing all this stuff with you guys. It's been fun.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And we'll see you in a bit.